Like any long-lived immortal in the Highlander universe, Connor Macleod endured a lot of tragic events, but which events impacted him the most? In this video, I'll be presenting my choices for the top 5 most devastating experiences in the life of the original Highlander. My name is David McMurdo and welcome to Highlander Lore, where we learn the deepest Highlander lore from a Highlander.
One night, I found Heather in front of the house. She had a knife in one hand and her hair in the other. When I asked her why she had done such a thing to herself, she said it was the one part of her that would never age. It would forever remain the same as when I first fell in love with her.
When I did my video about the top 5 saddest deaths of the Highlander TV series, I ranked them based upon how they emotionally affected me. But in this video, I'm ranking the tragedies of Connor's life based upon how big of an impact I feel that they had on him. I'll tell you up front that the death of Ramirez is not included in my list, because although his death is obviously a massive event in Connor's life, it's not something we see him dwell upon to a great degree. But you can let me know your own pick for the top 5 most tragic events of Connor's life. Here are mine in descending order. Number 5. Sarah and Alex. Sarah was a lover that Connor had at the beginning of the French Revolution, to which he is called. Having no choice, Connor leaves Sarah, but before he goes, Sarah gives him a ring.
Take this.
Connor is taken prisoner and sentenced to death by guillotine, but his immortal friend Pierre chooses to take his place.
If you die, we lose a great warrior against evil. I'm here to take your place.
Sarah doesn't know this, however, and arrives to see who she thinks is Connor being executed. Years later, Connor finally finds Sarah again, only to discover that she's now married with children. He accepts this, just glad that she's happy, and disappears, never letting her know that he's there. Now, I've always believed that Alex in Highlander 3's present day of 1994 is actually a reincarnation of Sarah, and it wouldn't be the last time the concept would appear in Highlander. Deborah Unger, the actress who played both characters, certainly seemed to be under that impression.
I played 2 characters in this picture. I sort of play the same person, but one half of the person exists during the French Revolution, the other half exists modern day.
I think the internal evidence is pretty solid. Connor's first flashback to his time with Sarah is triggered by hearing Alex's voice on TV before he's even seen her. This despite the fact that the two women have completely different accents.
Well, the artifacts are clearly exceptional, but only after a much more detailed analysis will we be able to speculate as to the identities of the other side.
When Alex is in Connor's apartment, despite everything else he has in there, her attention is drawn specifically to a painting of Sarah.
Her name was Sarah.
By the time that Alex recognises who and what Connor is, she actually has very little real evidence to go on. Her realisation is actually triggered by an exchange about that very same painting of Sarah, and it's delivered less like she's figured something out, and more like she's remembering it.
It hurts to love
And see them die. Like the woman in the painting.
Yes. I loved her very much.
I know who you are.
When Connor is forced to leave Alex to go and fight Kane, he gives her the exact same ring that Sarah gave him centuries earlier. You would surely never give your lover something that was gifted to you by a former lover. That is, unless they were the same person, and the act is actually bringing a relationship full circle. Number 4. Banishment from Glenfinnan. When people think of Connor Macleod, they're usually going to remember the way he was while living under the alias of Russell Nash in New York of 1985. That is to say, a loner that's haunted by his past. So it's easy to forget that when he lived among his fellow clansmen in Glenfinnan, he was a completely different person, very much one of the boys.
Are you scared, Connor?
No, Cousin Dougal, I'm not.
Don't talk nonsense, man. I peed my kilt the first time I went into battle.
Aye. Angus pees his kilt all the time.
Not only that, but he had a lover called Kate, to whom he was almost certainly engaged.
Remember, you fight with God on your side, Connor.
Aye, a girl like that. You can win the soldier more than a Fraser sword, my friend.
Wait! Angus, you and Dougal keep him in one piece, do you hear?
Aye, we all know what piece that is.
He was a well-respected and much-loved member of his community. Of course, that all changed when he arose from the dead, which instantly caused everyone to be suspicious of him. And who was the first one to openly accuse him of what most suspected? None other than Kate.
He's in league with Lucifer.
Don't say that, Kate.
I'll say it. You've the devil in you.
When the mob is attacking Connor and Angus intervenes to prevent him from being burned alive, no one is more upset about it than her.
There'll be no burning here today. We'll banish him.
No! Burn him!
There are several reasons for why she might have turned so dramatically on her lover, but I've always attributed it to the trauma of believing that someone that you love is dead, only for them to still be alive. But the bottom line is that Connor Macleod was cast out from his clan, and it's not the same as if one of us were to leave the place that we live. In the medieval period, most people never travelled far from the place they were born, and so it was almost certainly the case that in one single day, Connor Macleod lost everything that he ever knew, and for no other reason than that he survived a wound. It's not hard to see why this event would plant the seeds for Connor to become the kind of man he eventually became.
You ever get over to New Jersey, Nash?
Not if I can help it.
You talk funny, Nash. Where are you from?
Lots of different places.
Before I get to my choices for the top 3 tragedies of Connor's life, please like the video and let me know what you think. If you're interested in a bonus video and podcast episode each month, you can sign up as an immortal over on Patreon or as a watcher right here on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Number 3. The Death of Heather. I think a lot of people might assume that the death of Heather would be at the number 1 spot on my list, especially because it's the first thing that many think of when Highlander comes to mind. But by the end of this video, I think they'll at least understand my reasoning for that not being the case, even if they don't agree with it. Now, there's no doubt whatsoever that the death of Heather is the event that most overshadows the rest of Connor's life, because it impacted him in a way that he would never truly recover from. And that is precisely what Ramirez warned him about.
When Shakiko died, I was shattered. I would save you that pain. Please, let Heather go.
However, at the end of the day, Heather did live an almost completely idyllic life with Connor and ultimately died of old age, which is something to take solace in. She did die regretting that she was never able to have children with Connor.
I wanted to have your children.
They would have been strong and fine.
And this no doubt tormented him too, but compared to the people at number 2 and 1 on my list, Heather's story is overwhelmingly a positive one.
Good night, my buddy Heather.
Number 2. The death of his mother. While Connor was still living with Heather in Glencoe, some of his former clansmen from Glenfinnan show up to threaten the life of his mother, Caroline Macleod, who still lives there among them. So he resolves to return there and bring her back to Glencoe.
Connor, please. You're not going back to Glenfinnan.
I have no choice.
Connor, please.
They can't hurt me, and they know it. But they can still hurt the ones I love.
Connor must have feared for his mother from the time he was banished, and when he actually returns to Glenfinnan, those fears are confirmed.
No one comes to take care of you?
Not in years. They think I bedevil their children because my own was banished.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
The situation escalates when mortal father Rainey and his adopted pre-immortal son Jacob Kell appear and take them away.
In the name of the Holy See and the rule of law,
Jacob?
You are hereby charged, Connor Macleod, with heresy and the practice of black magic.
When Connor awakes, he finds himself imprisoned, but in a position to witness his mother about to be burned at the stake.
You are entitled to one final opportunity to renounce all that is unholy and declare of Connor Macleod, not of your loins. I'll save you, Carlin Macleod.
He manages to escape, but too late. In the ensuing chaos, the village of Glenfinnan starts to burn, and Connor kills both Father Rainey and Jacob Cahill before carrying his mother's body away. So you can probably understand why I rate this event in Connor's life as more tragic even than the death of Heather. This tragedy involved his mother, and she suffered one of the most painful deaths possible, and for no other reason than for what he was. Number 1. The death of Rachel. I briefly considered putting the death of Connor's mother in first place and the death of Rachel in second, but if you were forced to decide which was more devastating, the death of a parent or the death of a child, I think most would quickly choose the latter. And Rachel Ellenstein was nothing if not Connor's child, even if adopted. He rescued her as a child during World War II and raised her as his own. In her latter years, she became his confidant, and one of the few people who truly knew him.
You can't hide your feelings from me. I've known you too long.
What feelings?
How about loneliness?
However, since being killed by Connor in Glenfinnan, Jacob Cahill, now an immortal, has been tormenting Connor from the shadows, murdering all those he cares about.
When those you cherish die abruptly and for no reason, I'm there for you.
And when your cellmates in their so-called sanctuary
are left twitching like headless chickens. Guess who?
Hello?
This is the event that finally pushes Connor over the edge, because, as he later says to Duncan Macleod,
Rachel's death made you the last soul on this planet that means a damn to me.
It's also the event that prompts him to seclude himself away in the sanctuary for a period of 10 years, before Jacob Cahill frees him in order to be able to continue tormenting him. Ultimately, the only way for Connor to both ensure the destruction of Jacob Cahill and to finally obtain peace is for him to surrender his life to Duncan. So those are my top 5 choices for the most tragic events in the life of Connor Macleod. Thank you for watching, everyone, and remember, in the end, there can be only one.
I'm at peace. It's finally over.